Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the class sets here in Guardians of the Dream. A lot of information about this patch has come out over the past 10 hours. I've got 2 videos up already, which you can see in the description below. There'll be a playlist, and I'll put a card thing up if I remember to do so. That will get you that as well if you want to go and see all of the patch notes and the general announcement. Now, since those have come out, there's been some other news and other things data mined. Those will not be in this video. You can go look for them now yourself if you want. I'm going to make another video that'll probably come out tomorrow about the things that have been announced that I haven't done yet, haven't covered yet. That includes stuff like raid trinkets, raid weapons with special effects, those sorts of things being data mined. So that will be a video that will come out tomorrow morning if I can get my act together and get everything done in time on that. But I wanted to make a video on the class sets and the set bonuses as those have been announced in this post. Guardians of the Dream features all new tier sets for every armor class, tier set armor for every class. We're excited to share them with you today. Designs and values below are work in progress. When these are ready for testing, the PTR may include values that are older than what you see here. Values may be updated with changes to these sets via hotfix at any time. In the Guardians of the Dream update, set bonuses can interact with or modify talents anywhere on the talent tree. We expect them to shake up some builds you've been using, enable entirely new builds, or further augment some high-powered abilities as you gear up in Season 3. Seems good, seems like a good way to keep the game, especially without stuff like Essences, Corruption, Netherlight Crucible, Double Lego, all these old borrowed power systems that changed how the game played a little bit or a large amount in later patches. Not having as much of that in Dragonflight, I think that the talent tree or the set bonuses should do more to help keep things, fresh. And I think that interacting with new talents each tier is a good way to do that. So let's get started with Death Knight. Blood Decay, 2 set. Consuming a Bone Shield charge has a chance to cause your next Heart Strike to apply Ashen Decay, reducing damage dealt to you by 10% and increasing your damage dealt to afflicted targets, because of course Heart Strike can AoE if you're in your Death and Decay, for 8 seconds by 20%. 4 set. Soul Reaper's execute damage and A-Bomb Limbs damage applies Ashen Decay to enemy targets, and Heart Strike and Blood Boil's direct damage extends it by 1 second. Wow, that is sweet. That is actually awesome. I mean, that's going to mean if you're using Soul Reaper, then in Execute, you can have a 20% damage increase and a 10% DR. So if there's a boss where you need that, tank survivability and damage in an Execute phase, and you're playing Soul Reaper, that's huge. A-Bomb Limb giving you huge value in AoE as well, making A-Bomb Limb a 10% DR as well, and also 20% damage increase to those affected targets. That seems pretty nice. Seems like a pretty nice set bonus. Frost Decay, 2 streak. Chill Streak's range is increased by 4 yards and can bounce off of you. Each time Chill Streak bounces off of an enemy, your damage is increased by 4% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So it's still better to have multiple targets for Chill Streak, but even on single target, I assume the idea is you will use this. 4 set. Chill Streak can bounce 2 additional times, and each time it bounces, you have a 40% chance to gain a rune, reduce its cooldown by 5 seconds, or reduce the cooldown of Empower Rune Weapon by 10 seconds. Interesting. Wow, so this is going to be really sick on like 2 targets. They didn't build in anything off of it bouncing off of you so that you're never incentivized to do that, which is probably good, right? You wouldn't want there to be like a 5-target pull and then you death grip a mob away and Chill Streak just it and you far away. So instead, you still want this to be an AoE. It's a set bonus that does kind of feel bad on pure single target as a result because you're not going to be getting that full value. But at least it's doing something now that Chill Streak can bounce off of you. Unholy Decay. 2 set. Apocalypse summons an additional Magus of the Dead. Your Magus of the Dead Shadow Bolt now fires a volley of Shadow Bolts at 4 nearby enemies. 4 set. Each rune you spend increases the duration of your active Magus apostrophe. Okay, now, what's this apostrophe doing here? Does this mean multiple Magus? Because we have a word for that. That's Magi. That's the plural of Magus. But you can have multiple Magi, right? Because Apocalypse can summon 2 of them. But the apostrophe here, is that supposed to be a possessive apostrophe? I assume this just means it's all your active Maguses, I assume is how they want this to be pronounced. But you would just type, if you wanted to pluralize it that way, you just type Magus ES. You wouldn't use an apostrophe. Or at least you do apostrophe. Well, no, okay, hang on. No, maybe this is right. Maybe you could do this. I don't know. I'm going to lodge a complaint. I think this should be Magi. by 0.5 seconds, and your Magus will now cast amplified damage, increasing the damage you deal by 5% for 10 seconds. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So I wonder if this is going to be like sleeper damage loss because it's going to cast this instead of casting something else, instead of casting a Shadow Bolt or whatever. Either way, though, that is a cool looking effect. Unlike the Frost Decay one, this one actually just keys into regular abilities, right? Just Apocalypse, rather than, Chill Streak, which is more like niche, right? So you can see the different style of set bonus, right? Some of them are going to be like that Channel Demon Fire one that we got for Destro, where it's like, hey, you're talenting this now. And some of them are going to be more regular ones where it's like, here's an ability you're already using that is going to get empowered. All right, we have 12 more classes to look at. But first, a word from the sponsor of today's video, u.gg/wow. This is a great place to go for all kinds of information. I've talked about several of their different functionalities on this site in the past. But one thing that can be good for, since this video is about tier lists, is you can use this to look and see, hey, which specific slots are people wearing their tier in? You can often get a pretty good idea of that from these pages, although sometimes you're just going to see all 5 tier pieces being used because that's the most commonly owned piece that people have. You can also see what talent builds people are using. You can see gem and stat prio for all the different classes and specs in the game. Even the B-Res Tinker that is at 7.6% popularity here for Vengeance DH. So, get on that. Get that engineering. Get those engineering bracers or helmet, but bracers is the easier way to get access to that. And then you can get a B-Res, which is nice. Those bracers actually also primary stat, or not primary stat, but also mono stat. You can get just pure 1 stat, which is nice. But this can be good, right? You can see what sort of stats people are using. Haste crit, for instance, for Vengeance. This wasn't true last season. And pretty early into the season, this was the site that you could go to identify that actually, hey, it's a haste crit season, not like a haste verse season. Although a few people, still flying the verse crit flag now, and there's haste verse as well. So you can see the percentages of those things and make a decision for yourself of what sort of gearing you want to use. You can look at different bosses, different dungeons, all that kind of stuff. And a very, very useful tool. That's u.gg/wow. And there'll be a link in the description below as well. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video. All right, let's take a look at Demon Hunter. Havoc Demon Hunter, 2-set. Each slash of Blade Dance has a 50% chance to throw glaive an enemy for 35% damage. Now, we haven't seen the reworked DH tree yet, so I wonder how much of the Bloodlet Throw Glaive stuff is in there, because 4-set says Throw Glaive reduces the remaining cooldown of the hunt by 0.4 seconds, and the hunt's dot lasts 4 seconds longer. So, yeah, presumably it's going to be a Throw Glaive tier. Well, I guess you don't necessarily need to spec into Throw Glaive stuff to get value out of this, because this is going to proc off of the Blade Dance ones. But, yeah, we'll have to see what the new Havoc tree looks like, right? Vengeance DH, 2-set. Sigil of Flame's periodic damage has a chance to flare up, shattering an additional soul fragment from a target and dealing additional damage. Every 40 fury you spend reduces its cooldown by 1 second. Okay. All right. 4-set bonus. When you attack a target afflicted by Sigil of Flame, your damage and healing are increased by 2%, and your max HP is increased by 2% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5. Okay, so what's going to be really big here is, can you easily float this buff? Right? Can you attack a new target can you get this to stay on 5 stacks, or will it fall off and are you rebuilding it? Because if this graph for this thing looks like, let's see, if it looks like this, right? For how your stacks are going versus if it looks like this, right? That top one is obviously a lot better, and I don't know what the answer is to that just yet, but that is an important variable that we will have to look into. And maybe at 8 seconds, my guess is that'll be hard to do, but maybe it'll be not impossible. Druid. And also, I guess there's sigil talents coming, so maybe there'll be enough sigil CDR stuff that you can get your sigils going and keep this up. Druid, balance, 2-set. When Eclipse ends or when you enter combat, enter a dream state, reducing the cast time of your next 2 Starfires or Rats by 40% and increasing their damage by 60%. 4-set. Star Surge and Starfall increase your current Eclipse's Arcane or Nature damage bonus by an additional 3%, up to 15%. Okay. So you want to do a bunch of these at the start of your Eclipse, I guess, with this is the incentive here. And Yeah, this seems nice. Seems like it's nice that it's when Eclipse ends or when you enter combat. I like that this text is here. That seems cool. Feral Frenzy grants Smoldering Frenzy, increasing all damage you deal by 20% for 8 seconds. Forset, Feral Frenzy's cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds. During Smoldering Frenzy, enemies burn for 10% of damage you deal as fire over 10 seconds. I assume that means when you have Smoldering Frenzy, enemies you hit get a 10% dot for the damage you deal, rather than like you radiate damage around you based on all the damage you deal. I assume that would be too OP. Guardian 2-set. 20% of damage and healing, and 100% of the armor you gain during Rage of the Sleeper fuel the growth of Dream Thorns, which wreath you in their protection after Rage of the Sleeper expires, absorbing 10% of damage dealt to you while the thorns remain. Okay. All right, so Rage of the Sleeper gets that kind of the current set bonus for Arcane, where Touch the Magi gives you stuff afterwards. Rage of the Sleeper is going to, and actually the current Prop Warrior one as well, Rage of the Sleeper is going to have that where afterwards you get this 10% DR for a nice long time if you do a lot of damage or gain a lot of armor, and you gain armor, of course, by pressing Iron Fur or by getting potentially Blistering Scales cast on you. I don't know if that'll work. Forset, each 40 rage you spend while Rage of the Sleeper is active increases its duration by 1 second up to 5. Your Dream Thorns become Blazing Thorns, causing damage absorbed to be reflected at the attacker, 10% of damage dealt to you. Wow. I mean, that could potentially scale out of control with, like, if you use Rage of the Sleeper with all your cooldowns and you're doing a lot of damage and healing and gaining a lot of armor. Early read on this is that this looks busted, but we'll see. We'll see how it ends up being. My guess, if I had to guess a set bonus that's going to get nerfed out of the ones so far, it would be Guardian. Resto Druid, 2-set. You and your Grove Guardians' nourishes. Now heal 2 additional allies within 40 yards at 40% effectiveness. 4-set bonus. Clear casting now causes your regrowth to also cast Nourish onto a nearby injured ally at 200% effectiveness, preferring those with your hots on them. Okay. I don't have enough information to really... This seems just kind of... I guess this one seems just kind of general extra healies. And then the second one... I guess putting some power into regrowth is kind of cool. I don't know. I don't have enough of an opinion on this one. I've played Restoration actually quite a bit this expansion, but I don't have enough of a theory crafting base on that spec. I play it for fun. And mostly, I don't heal anyways. I just go into cat form. Evoker, Augmentation 2-set. Every third prescience lasts 100% longer. That seems large. That seems very large. That means that you can have 3 presciences out reliably on your Breath of Aeon's cast, right? Which means that it's much easier to have that be on the right people, have your Ebonmite and have your Breath of Aeon's like be on the right people, right? That seems really, really big if you play around it. It'll be hard to, like, it'll require some tracking. This is a huge, you will have a tracker like counting your presciences and skill tester thing, making the spec a little bit harder than it currently is. 4-set, casting prescience enhances your next eruption with smaller fissures for each prescience you have active, each dealing damage and extending Ebonmite by 0.2 seconds. So if you have 2 presciences, 0.4 seconds. If you have 3 presciences, 0.6 seconds, and potentially with that crit scaling as well, I'm not sure. Devastation 2-set. While Dragon Rage is active, you gain Emerald Trance every 6 seconds, increasing your damage done by 5%, stacking up to 5 times. Okay, so the end of Dragon Rage, you will have a 25% damage amp, but not the start of Dragon Rage. 4-set, when Dragon Rage ends, Emerald Trance persists for 5 seconds per stack and grants you Essence Burst every 5 seconds. Okay, so they're, again, trying... People generally, especially DPS specs, don't like it when they get these sorts of designs where when your cooldown ends, you get a consolation prize for a little while. Like, that often ends up being unpopular. This seems quite powerful, though. But, yeah, we'll see how the dev reaction is to this. Dev, I mean Devastation, not developer. Preservation, 2-set. Empower spells cast Living Flames at enemies or allies struck at 40% effectiveness. Okay. Living Flame also getting buffed in the patch notes as well. So that maybe will feel like something and also give you Essence Bursts. 4-set. Living Flame has a chance to apply Echo at 100% effectiveness on allies healed or a nearby ally who doesn't already have Echo. All right. Obviously, what chance is going to be very important for this, but that seems pretty powerful. Hunter, 2-set. Bestial Wrath summons a Dire Beast for 15 seconds. 4-set. Dire Beasts now obey your kill command and can gain Beast Cleave. Okay, that seems pretty beefy. Marksmanship, 2 set. Rapid fire launches a volley at the target for 2 seconds. 4 set. Legacy of the Windrunner now gives volley a 15% chance to fire wind arrows at targets when dealing damage. Okay, so there's some single target functionality here, but this seems like it's going to be especially sick in AoE and in cleave situations. Survival, 2 set. Fury of the Eagle increases you and your pet's crit chance by 15% and crit damage by 15% for 12 seconds. 4 set. Fury of the Eagle throws a free wildfire bomb at 100% effectiveness, generates a charge of wildfire bomb, and increases the damage wildfire bomb deals to your primary target by 40% for 12 seconds, which this line of text just is passively happening to the spec. But now, so wildfire bombs are going to be doing giga damage to primary target after Fury of the Eagle. This seems cool. Again, this spec, I've actually played a little bit of this spec as well, this expansion. And Fury of the Eagle always felt kind of weird, but buffing it up now, I think that's going to be sweet. Definitely you'll play it on single target now. Holy Paladin, 2 set. When Glimmer dissipates or is refreshed, it creates a holy reverberation on its target to heal an ally or damage an enemy for, I assume there's supposed to be a number here, so for a number over 8 seconds. Multiple holy reverberations may overlap up to 3 times. So it says overlap, not refresh or anything. So it'll probably be the Iron First style, overlapping cooldowns, but not extending the duration of the first one, right? 4 set, the cooldown of Daybreak is reduced by 15 seconds, which actually does synergize here, right? So that's cool. Ret, 2 set. Expurgation lasts an additional 4 seconds and deals 50% increased damage. Casting Judgment or Divine Toll on a target with Expurgation causes Wrathful Sanction, dealing holy damage to the target and resonating 20% of the holy damage up to 4 nearby enemies. 4 set. Wrathful Sanction grants you Echoes of Wrath, causing your next Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm to deal damage a second time at 50% effectiveness. This effect does not consume Judgment, but presumably benefits from it? Yeah, presumably. Presumably benefits, but does not consume. Well, actually, I guess I'm not sure whether it benefits from Judgment. Does not consume, because maybe you have to consume Judgment to benefit from it. That'll be interesting either way. I guess you have to, the target will have to have Judgment on it either way, so it's not going to change how you play either way, right? Because Wrathful Sanction instantly procs after you Judgment. So either way, that doesn't matter. Okay. Protection, 2 set. Judgment grants a stack of Sanctification, increasing your armor by 1% per stack. Upon reaching 10 stacks, your next cast of Consecration increases its damage by 200% and its healing by 200% and its radius by 30%. Which increasing something's radius, fun fact, increasing something's radius by 30% actually increases its area by, gotta be like double. Pi r squared or whatever. It's a lot. Like the radius by 30%, it's going to look like twice as big, right? Sanctification stacks are reset when your empowered consecration ends. Huh. 4 set bonus. While you're within an empowered consecration, your abilities have a chance to deal 20% bonus damage or healing as fire. Interesting. I wonder if you ever don't press consecration to just keep the armor bonus. I guess you never do because you have such a big damage reduction standing in consecration. So I wonder if you ever try and time this though, so that you have a bunch of stacks and like so you're in an empowered consecration with sanctification stacks rather than like building towards a new one when a certain ability is coming out. That would be kind of interesting. I guess it's just an armor bonus. It's only 10% armor. So you probably just mostly don't do any weird stuff with this. Mage, 2 set, Arcane. Consuming clear casting increases spell damage by 2% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 10%. Okay. So this presumably you'll be able to just maintain a 10% buff to your spell damage the whole time there. 4 set. After consuming clear casting 6 times, your next missiles deal 75% increased damage and fires it up to enemies near your target. Again, a number is missing here, but probably 4 enemies near your target. Or maybe 2 or something. I don't know. Fire, 2 set. When Pyroblast and Flame Strike crit, you gain Searing Rage, increasing your crit strike damage by 3% for 12 seconds, stacking up to 15%. So again, probably something that you can mostly roll, maybe not outside of combustion, and then during combustion you will have 15% crit damage, which all your spells are crits during combustion, so that's a lot of crit damage. 4 set, activating combustion increases the bonus by 100% for 12 seconds. Okay, so you actually get 30% crit damage during your combustion. That seems rather big. That seems rather big indeed. Frost 2-set. Glacial Spike damage increased by 10%, and it explodes when it shatters a frozen target, dealing 20% of its damage to nearby enemies. Deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. 4-set. Casting Glacial Spike has a 40% chance to trigger Brain Freeze. Interesting. Okay, so a Glacial Spike set bonus for Frost and an AoE Glacial Spike bonus. That is going to be rather... I feel like this is the weirdest one, and I feel like it'll be hard to get good value out of this in M+, but we'll see. Because I feel, man, I mean, I guess it's really good. Like, you're doing prior damage to one target, you want to Glacial Spike it anyways, and now you're dealing, 2 Glacial Spikes worth of damage in an AoE situation. I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe there's something there. These seem really good, though, the Arcane and Fire ones. Brewmaster, 2-set. Breath of Fire deals 20% bonus damage as Shadow Flame, and causes you to heal for 50% of all fire damage dealt. Which, Shadow Flame is fire damage, and Breath of Fire, and then also Breath of Fire itself is fire damage, so presumably, does this mean of all fire damage you do, like, for a certain amount of time? Or just all of Breath of Fire's damage is going to heal you? Because you also have, like, Exploding Keg that's fire. I wonder if that happens here. Oh, maybe it's this 4-set interaction. Your attacks against targets afflicted by Breath of Fire have a chance to deal 5% extra damage to Shadow Flame, and each Celestial Brew also grants a Stagger Absorb equal to the amount of Shadow Flame damage you have dealt, causing damage delayed by Stagger to instead be prevented. Interesting. Okay. So a little bit of a kind of Purify type effect there, pre-Purify to the damage. Mistweaver 2-set. Renewing Mist and its jumps apply Chi Harmony, increasing its target's healing taken from you by 50% for 8 seconds. 4-set. 15% of all healing you do to targets with Chi Harmony is stored and then dispersed evenly among your allies with Renewing Mist when it fades or is refreshed. Okay, so kind of some just a group throughput thing. This reads to me like it would do quite a lot of extra HPS as well, but... yeah, increasing healing taken by 50% for 8 seconds. And you could really juice some healing into a target with this thing. Yeah. Although I guess... yeah. This seems good. Seems pretty good. Seems pretty good to me. I'm not a Mistweaver main, though. I rarely play that spec. Windwalker, 2-set. Melee attacks have a chance to make your next spinning crane kick free. Free spinning crane kicks grant Ebon Toes, increasing the damage of your next blackout kick by 100%. 4-set. Ebon Toes empowered blackout kicks reduce the cooldown of Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 1 second. So, Dansuchiji is still in the game, right? I haven't played Windwalker this tier, but Dansuchiji gives you a free spinning crane kick, right? So, does that spinning crane kick also count as a free spinning crane kick that can give you Ebon Toes? Or nah? That's my question here. Interesting effect, but I'm a little bit worried that this is the same sort of general Windwalker thing of like, how can this spec be doing good single target if they're getting so much free random AoE that they're doing? And you just the spec ends up getting nerfed how much damage it does because the AoE situations and then the single target sucks. I'm a little worried that this set bonus kind of leans into that existing weakness of Windwalker design. Priest Disc 2-set. Smite and Penance damage increased by 20%, and Smite extends the duration of an active atonement by 2 seconds. 4-set. Smite has a 100% chance to cast an additional time during Shadow Covenant, dealing shadow damage. That's cool. That's big, actually. All right. Smite extends the duration of an active atonement by 2 seconds as well. Yeah, it seems like a nice solid general throughput on 2, and then the 4, yeah, huge power during the Shadow Covenant, the HPS you can put out during that. Holy, 2-set. Holy Word Serenity applies 14 seconds of Renew to its target. Sanctify applies 5 seconds to each ally. 4-set. Renews Healing has a chance to cause your next Sanctify or Serenity to not consume a charge when cast, and costs 50% less mana, stacking up to 2 times. Good lord, that reads to be extremely broken. Yeah. Reading this, it seems like you're just going to have Renews on the whole raid and spam Sanctifies that are applying free Renews, that are giving you free Sanctifies, that you're applying Renews on the whole raid, and then you're spamming... like, it seems like you're just going to go Sanctify, 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 and just blast your entire raid with healing. I guess if this is a low enough chance, maybe that's not going to happen, but mark this one down for another one that I suspect is going to be nerfed or come in within a really, really small chance on this. Shadow 2-set. Death triggers 2 additional times at 50% effectiveness, triggers again 1 additional time at 50% effectiveness if Death Speaker is active or your target is below 20% health. 4-set. Each time you take damage from death, gain a stack of Death's Torment, increasing the initial damage of your next cast of Pain by 250%, or your next crash by 50%, stacking up to 12 times. Interesting. So yeah, that is a very interesting thing. That's going to lead to some cool gameplay. I wonder if you'll like stack this up before, a burn phase on a boss, right? Like on Echo of Neltharion, you can kind of have one of these ready for the start of P3 type thing. You could have 12 stacks of it ready for that kind of thing. In M+, you could stack this up for a boss or for a big pull or something. Bang, big Shadow Crash, 500% increased damage or whatever on it, 600% increased damage. Yeah, that seems like a fun thing to play with. Shaman Elemental 2-set. Primordial Wave also casts an Elemental Blast at the target at 100% effectiveness and grants you all 3 Elemental Blast bonus effects for 15 seconds. Badass. That's really cool. 4-set. For 10 seconds after using Primordial Wave, whenever you consume Lava Surge, your next Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning is instant cast and deals 25% increased damage. Nice. Okay, so with this bonus here, it looks like we'll maybe be moving away from the Lightning build that we currently are using. And moving into a, build that talents Lava Surge and M+, for instance, which I like that. I like Lava Surge. And Primordial Wave, of course, you will be talenting that thing too. Enhancement 2-set. Primordial Wave summons a Lightning Feral Spirit that increases your nature damage dealt by 20% for 15 seconds. 4-set. Summoning a Feral Spirit, which you summon 2 of them when you press Feral Spirits, right? And then you summon 1 of them on your 2-set. Reduces the cooldown of Wave by 7 seconds, which is going to... Wave will summon a Spirit. Spirit will reduce the cooldown of your wave. Nice little cycle going on there. Resto Shaman 2-set. Chain Healing, Healing Surge, and Healing Wave mark their initial target with a tidal reservoir, causing them to receive 15% of all Riptide healing you deal for 10 seconds. 4-set. Riptide's healing is increased by 15%. If Riptide is active on the same target as Tidal Reservoir, its hot has a 10% chance to create a new Riptide on a nearby ally. Wow, that is powerful. That kind of effect seems powerful. My initial take is that I thought Riptide healing base was pretty low, and it didn't get buffed in the new patch notes where most other spot healing type things did. But maybe my intuition on that is wrong, and this is actually just going to be quite good. If not, then maybe this is the kind of set bonus that it looks like it could be good if they buffed Riptide healing a little bit, which maybe they will, if they need to. I don't know enough about Resto Shaman to know for sure that they need to. That was just what I, as a non-Resto Shaman player, had thought the last time I looked at logs. Was like, oh wow, that's a low number. Sin Rogue 2-set. Each 10 energy you spend grants Nature Blight, granting 1% attack speed and 1% nature damage for 6 seconds. Multiple instances may overlap up to 15. Okay, so each 10 energy you spend gives you 6 seconds of this. So if you're spending... Let's say you spend, your energy spend rate will be equal to your energy gain rate, which, assuming you're talenting Vigor. So let's assume that for the most part, you're going to be chilling at maybe 8 or 9% attack speed and nature damage on average. But I guess maybe there will be some kind of ebb and flow where you try and get a bunch of these stacked up. And of course, during your cooldowns, you'll have more. And yeah, attack speed and nature damage, these are both damage damage scalers for you. The attack speed also, that's going to give you more, poison procs and stuff, right? So, yeah. Okay, this seems pretty good. 4-set. Envenom with Envenom active explodes. Dealing nature damage to all enemies within 8 yards, deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. Interesting. So a little bit of funnel for Sin, but also a little bit of AoE for Sin on if they're pressing Envenom instead of Crimson Tempest. Outlaw 2-set. Sinister Strike has an additional 15% chance of striking. Oh, and I guess they will be pressing Envenom and AoE instead of Crimson Tempest because they made Crimson Tempest not do upfront damage, right? It just does an instant tick. But that won't help if you already have Crimson Tempest out, right? So, okay, yeah. Outlaw 2-set. Sinister Strike has an additional 15% chance of striking an additional time. 4-set. Roll the Bones additionally refreshes a random Roll the Bones combat enhancement buff if you currently possess for 40 seconds. All right, so whenever you roll, so you're going to want to be rolling on cooldown and not just rolling, like you're not going to want to sit on good buffs as much as you currently do. And this will bring back, you'll be able to get a full duration 6 buff off of this, I believe, if you If you wield one buff, you roll the 5 other ones, and then you extend the one buff back up. So a full 40 seconds of 6 buff is, I think, now possible off of this, which, that's the good old days, the 6 buff. Love those. Sub-Rogue, 2-set. Using Eviscerate, Rupture, or Black Powder has a chance to summon a Shadow Clone to echo your finishing move for 50% additional shadow damage. This is just number, and the question is, what's the chance, right? You can multiply the chance by 50% to figure out how much of a buff this is to your finishers. That's how the math works on that one. 2-set. Your Shadow Clones deal 10% increased damage with all attacks and grant you 2 combo points per clone when summoned. Interesting. So are the clones going to stick around, or does this just mean like secret technique? Is this an interaction with secret technique? I don't know. Also, this should be 4-set, I assume. Warlock, Aff, 2-set. Soul Rot deals 15% increased damage and lasts an additional 4 seconds. 4-set. Soul Rot causes your next 3 casts of Malefic Rapture within 12 seconds to deal 50% increased damage and extend your dots by 2 seconds. That's going to feel really nice. That's going to make the Soul Rot windows feel really good. The dot extension, that's going to give you some extra time to just be throwing those seeds out and spamming Rapture, I guess. Yeah. Demo, 2-set. Yeah, okay, yeah, because this only affects the Malefic Rapture. Yeah, I see. 2-set. Demon Bolt now applies a Doom Brand that explodes after 20 seconds, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies. Demon Bolt and Hand of Gul'dan reduce the duration of the primary target's Doom Brand by 1 second. 4-set. Hand of Gul'dan's damage increased by 15%. When Doom Brand explodes, you have a chance to summon a Doom Fiend that blasts your target for 81% of spell power damage every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. That's cool. Cool kind of callback to Doom, which used to be how Demo Lock played back in the day. You'd Doom, the dot you'd use. Destro Lock, 2-set. MO damage increased by 20%. Periodic damage has a chance to grant a charge of Dimensional Rift. 4-set. Dimensional Rift can now summon a powerful Flame Rift, which fires 20 Searing Bolts that deal 25% spell power fire damage to its target, and an additional 10% over 10 seconds to nearby enemies. So this is just brutal turn of events here for me and my guild, because our guild master 2 weeks ago on Sarkareth farm accidentally talented Dimensional Rift instead of Grand Warlock's design because they have the same icon. And so we were making a lot of fun of him for that. And now it just turns out that he was just living in the future and actually had next tier's build already downloaded, which is crazy. But yeah, it's interesting. Destro for the 2nd tier in a row is getting a talent tree, is getting a talent that interacts with a talent that they otherwise wouldn't have taken, which, I think that's interesting. I think it would be good if they didn't do that too many tiers in a row for any given spec, but maybe 2 is fine. And yeah, maybe the people like it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Warrior, Arms, 2-set. Rend damage increased by 30% and has a chance to trigger Sudden Death. 4-set. Sudden Death also causes your next execute to cut deeply. I assumed it was already cutting fairly deeply, but okay. Causing the target to bleed for 50% of the damage of the execute, and it triggers a Thunderclap that deals 100% additional damage. Wow. That is going to make those executes feel really beefy, which is cool. 4-set. Fury, 2-set. Odin's Fury deals 50% additional damage and causes your next 3 Bloodthirsts to deal 150% additional damage and have 100% increased crit chance against its primary target. I wonder if this against the primary target thing applies just to the crit chance or to the damage. Either way, that's big. And that's... Dude, I wonder if Fury's going to rip Threat, actually, because they were already one of the specs that was closest to doing that. I wonder if they're going to do that now, because this is more of that. This is the ability that makes them rip Threat, is Odin's Fury. 4-set. Bloodthirst crits reduce the cooldown of Odin's Fury by 2.5 seconds. Wow. That seems very powerful as well. That's a lot of cooldown reduction, because you cast Bloodthirst every couple of globals. Prot Warrior, 2-set. Spending Rage has a chance to cause your next Shield Slam to consume your bleeds on a target, instantly dealing 100% of the remaining damage and reducing the target's damage dealt to you by 10% for 5 seconds. All right. That seems like a nice little bit of damage and survivability, and all of your bleeds are applied... Well, I guess Thunderous Roar has a bleed component and the talent for it, right? And then there's also the Rends you're applying with Thunderclap. 4-set. When your bleeds are consumed on a target, their damage dealt to you is reduced by an additional 2% for bleed consumed. The cooldown of Thunderclap is reset, and the cooldown of Thunderous Roar is reduced by 1 second. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I assume the 2 warrior bleeds are just the Rend from Thunderclaps and Thunderous Roar. Are there any other bleeds that warrior can do? I think it's just those 2. So, you will get 4% DR on top, so that'll be 14% total. Plus, you'll be getting the... Oh, I guess there's Deep Wounds, right? Does Prot Warrior have Deep Wounds? Or is that an Arms Warrior thing? I don't know. So it could be as much as 6% then, additional. And yeah, 3 seconds off Thunderous Roar. It depends on what the chance is for spending Rage here, but if this is happening often, this seems quite good. And this seems like it'll be doing quite a lot of single target damage here. All right, well, those are the buffs, or the class set bonuses. So do let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know in the comments here what you thought of these set bonuses. And if you have some feedback to give to the devs, I will link this post down in the description below, as well as the playlist where you can find all of my 10.2 videos, and the lovely sponsor of today's video, u.gg/wow. Those are all in the description below, so go check that out if you're interested in any of those things. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.